Welcome to the Flourish Frequency, the show where we activate and amplify the frequencies of success, joy, and abundance. I'm your host, Beth Larson, a high-performance and quantum success coach. If you're ready to ditch the hard hustle and embrace a more effortless flow, then this is the show for you. Together, we'll tap into quantum thinking, harness the laws of the universe, and unlock the secrets to living a life of more. More joy, more energy, more passion, more money, and more meaning. No more simply surviving, we're going beyond thriving. It's time to flourish. The Flourish Frequency Show starts now. One of the foundational concepts that I teach is what I call the 4 power paradigms. These are surviving, striving, thriving, and flourishing. And each one of these represents a different way of relating to our own power and, well, relating to the topic of power itself, I should say, and how we participate in life. In surviving, most of your energy is focused on just getting through. You respond to circumstances. Usually you're managing your immediate needs and trying to create safety and stability in your life. In the striving mode, you create change through effort, working harder, pushing, achieving, proving what you're capable of. Striving is, it's one of those places, I always say it's where a lot of high achievers can often start and sometimes end up if they can't expand past it, because striving can create extraordinary results, especially initially, but it often requires you to keep supplying more energy in order to sustain those results. In thriving, you reconnect with personal power. You become more intentional about your energy and about your choices and about your own personal well-being. You begin to feel alive and more expressed, more purposeful, and honestly more resourced. And you begin creating success that actually feels good. I've always known personally that thriving, though, was not the stopping point. Even sometimes, though, I'll use the words thriving and flourishing kind of interchangeably, but I've always pictured them very differently. Whenever I imagine thriving, I get this image in my head of a single plant that is strong and healthy and vibrant. And it's growing beautifully because it's got the light, it's got the water, it's got the nourishment, all the conditions that it needs in order to grow and to thrive. But when I imagine flourishing, I always see a field of flowers. Not one plant that's growing beautifully all on its own, but this entire living ecosystem. Flowers blooming everywhere, butterflies and bumblebees moving from one flower to the next, pollen traveling across the field. Each individual life is contributing to the health of the whole, and the whole is in return supporting each individual life. Only recently have I understood more fully what this image was always trying to show me. That thriving is something that's personal, but flourishing is something that is participatory. Thriving is where you become fully alive within yourself, and flourishing begins when your aliveness starts to enter into a larger circulation of life. The word flourish itself, it carries a few different meanings. It can mean to grow luxuriously. I always love that definition. That was one of the reasons why I really like the word flourish. I'm like, ooh, I want to grow luxuriously. But it can also mean to be prosperous and to become successful. Businesses that flourish. It can also describe a bold expression, like when you sign your name with a flourish, or, there's a grand gesture, they do it with a flourish. So think about that: growth, success, and expression. Something grows within you, it becomes expressed through you, And that expression creates movement beyond you. Think about it this way. Your wisdom changes a conversation. Your courage gives somebody else courage, gives them the permission to be bold. Your healing alters a family pattern. Your business creates opportunity, right? Your thriving as an individual begins to feed the field. And as that increase circulates, the field itself will begin to feed you in return. I was looking for a couple of examples really to bring this kind of full circle here and help really show what this looks like. And I came across two incredible women that I want to talk about here today. One is Madam C.J. Walker, and the other is Tory Burch. Both of these women built businesses in very different eras and under very different circumstances. But both of them show us what can happen when success doesn't stop just with the individual. So let's talk about Madam C.J. Walker. She was an incredible woman. She was born Sarah Breedlove in Louisiana. Hang on, I'm just going to look at my notes real quick. Yeah, Louisiana in 1867 to parents who had been slaves. They had recently been freed, but they had been slaves, and she was born, I believe, while they were still slaves. She was orphaned as a child. They died at a very young age. She ended up working as a laundress, and she knew the realities very well of poverty and discrimination, limited opportunity. After she experienced some hair and scalp issues, I believe she was actually losing a lot of her hair, she started kind of playing around with products and trying different treatments, and she ended up creating some products and entered the beauty industry. She eventually developed and sold these products, created specifically for Black women. And her company grew into an extraordinary success. She became a millionaire. She's actually in the Guinness Book of World Records. She's the first self-made millionaire in America. I mean, that's amazing. She built a national brand. She created a life of financial independence. She had influence and she had choice. Now, that is an extraordinary story of a woman who is thriving. But the part of her story that matters most for this conversation is really what she built around all of that success. She established beauty schools. She trained women to become professional hair culturists and sales agents. Her network created employment and entrepreneurial opportunities for thousands of Black women at the time when Jim Crow laws and customs excluded them from labor markets. And forget about them trying to get any sources of financing. She created that. Women gained skills because of her. They earned incomes. Some of them became salon owners and franchisees. And they supported their families and they developed professional identities and leadership. She also organized clubs that participated in charitable work and civic engagement and activism. The value didn't stop with her product or even with her own personal wealth. It moved through an entire ecosystem. One woman's business created a pathway through which many other women became more economically capable. And those women expanded the reach and the reputation and the impact of the company in return. Her success fed the ecosystem, but then the ecosystem then expanded her success. That is flourishing. This is where the distinction gets deeper than just personal success versus just helping other people, right? Thriving describes the vitality of an individual. Flourishing describes the relationship between the individual and the living systems around her. So a person can be financially thriving, but still create depletion in their team. A person can be thriving professionally while their family is held together by their constant overfunctioning. You can influence thousands of people while privately abandoning your body and your relationships and your joy, your own personal joy. See, external impact alone is not what flourishing is. And flourishing is not measured by how many people depend on you. It's not giving until you're empty. It's not becoming the sun, the rain, the soil, and the pollinator for the entire field. A healthy ecosystem cannot be built around the depletion of one of its members. Flourishing requires reciprocity. You contribute what is yours to contribute, and you receive back the very things that allow you to remain alive, to remain resourced, to remain capable of continuing to contribute. This is why thriving remains essential. A woman who has spent years surviving, you may need to focus on your safety and stability first. And a woman who spent years overgiving may need a season to just work on your own energy and your health and your desires first. Thriving is where you do that. And thriving is what restores you as an individual. It strengthens your roots. And then flourishing widens the frame beyond you. So what does thriving make possible within the systems that you touch? Think about that. Your improved health may change the emotional climate of your family. Your leadership may develop someone else who later becomes an extraordinary leader themselves and then has impact on other people. Your profitable business may create meaningful work or client transformation or partnerships. Your healing, your success, your wisdom begins creating capacity beyond just you. And the healthier ecosystem will strengthen you in return. Then you have to be open to receiving it, to letting yourself receive it back. That's the pattern. Madam C.J. Walker didn't merely tell women that they were capable of more, right? She didn't go out just being a motivator. She helped create structures through which more became possible. She had training and she had products and she had business opportunities. She had community. She didn't only create the impression of possibility, she increased capacity. So maybe you're a woman who begins caring for your health after years of exhaustion. Let's think about this a little deeper. You start getting more sleep, you start improving your nutrition, you start working out, moving your body, you create healthy boundaries in your life, you reconnect with your interests, your passions, your desires, you feel alive again. That's thriving. And because you are more regulated and more present, the emotional climate of your home also changes, right? Your children see that a woman's well-being matters, and they experience a mom who is responding to them, not reacting to them every day. Your partner maybe participates more fully because you're no longer automatically carrying everything. Your health and your priority on your own health could be what changes and becomes normal within the family. That's an example of flourishing. Maybe you're a woman in a leadership role and you have authority and influence and you've got the big income and you're thriving professionally. But you also know and share the knowledge that you have instead of gatekeeping it, instead of protecting it. You advocate for someone whose potential maybe is getting overlooked. And the people that you lead become more capable. Not because you fish for them or give them fish, but because you teach them how to fish, right? Your team becomes stronger and their increased capacity support your leadership in return when they become stronger. That's flourishing. Maybe you're an entrepreneur whose business becomes profitable. You pay yourself well. You work healthy hours. You set up your business to be leveraged so that you can get more done in less hours. You can serve more people without it taking more from you. You help your clients get meaningful results. That is thriving. And then watch what happens. Clients refer your work. A collaborator grows through partnership. Your client's transformation then changes the way that client leads and parents and serves others. Your business begins producing opportunity beyond just you. And the relationships within the ecosystem then strengthen the business back. That's flourishing. These are all incredible examples of what flourishing looks like. So I mentioned I had another example I wanted to look at, and that's the example of Tory Burch. Tory launched her company in 2004. And when she did it, she had two connected ambitions. She wanted to build a global luxury brand, and she wanted to establish a foundation that would advance women's economic power. The interesting thing is that the second intention, it wasn't something that was developed later after the company had already succeeded. According to the Tory Burch Foundation, it was actually part of the purpose behind the company from the very beginning. The foundation's mission is to increase women's economic power by supporting entrepreneurs as they build businesses that last. It offers resources, access to capital, education, and a community invested in founder and business growth. The Fellows Network of the foundation, it has over, I believe it's over 500 women entrepreneurs across like 45 to 50 cities and over 20 different industries. I mean, just consider what that means in practice. You've got a woman who gains access to capital, to guidance, and to a strong peer network with mentors. She uses that all to strengthen her own business. Her revenues grow. She hires employees. She works with suppliers and service providers. She builds relationships with other founders who share knowledge, who make introductions, who create collaborations. And one woman's increased capacity begins moving through the employees, through the families, through the vendors, through the clients, through the communities. Once again, the increase does not stop with the individual. I think this example should challenge the way that we sometimes think about purpose and contribution. Oftentimes, we may think that contribution is something that we will get to later. First, I will become successful, and then I'll have the time and the resources to help others. Or first, I'll achieve my goals, and then I'll think about my impact. But what if flourishing is not, if it's not some philanthropic project that's added after thriving? What if it changes the way you build success from the very beginning? The business itself, it still has to thrive. The products still have to be valuable, and the finances of the company still have to work. All of that's really important because a depleted or a collapsing business, it has very little capacity to increase anyone. So that has to happen. But its success can exist inside of a larger vision. So I want to invite you out there, if you're an entrepreneur in particular, do you have something bigger than you that's part of your why for your business? Do you have your own personal why, the meaningful why for yourself? But do you also have something bigger than you that's actually more of an ecosystem-driven idea? Have you thought about your business beyond just your own personal impact? And have you thought bigger and broader to the longer term impact that you want to make, that you want to have, the legacy that you want to live or leave? I should say live and leave. Now, I want to make a distinction here too between helping someone and increasing someone. And I said before, we want to teach people how to fish, not just give them the fish, right? But you want to be a person of increase. Helping has an important place. There are times when we all need direct support. But helping can also leave the helper as the permanent source. So think about it. If I have knowledge and you're in need of that knowledge and I provide you with that knowledge and you receive that knowledge, in that scenario, I'm actually the source of the knowledge. But increase is different. If you're thinking from increase, the primary thought in your mind is, can this person that I'm interacting with become a greater source of wisdom, of value, of creativity, of possibility in their own right? There's a difference between solving every problem for someone else and expanding their ability to solve problems on their own. And there's a difference between giving advice and strengthening somebody else's discernment so that they can make their own decisions. There's a difference between creating followers and developing leaders, between building an audience that relies on you and cultivating a community whose members generate value for one another. This all is very much tied into the impression of increase. That's from Wallace Wattles, who wrote the book, The Science of Getting Rich. In the book, he wrote that there's a guiding thought in all of our dealings with other people that should convey increase, because all life is looking and seeking greater life and fuller expression. And the individual as a creative center from which increase can move to others. Now, when I read that, I didn't read it like relentless positivity. It doesn't mean I become a walking affirmation or inspiring every person I meet. It means that something about the way I engage with people can make more life available. And the same thing for you. Do people feel more capable after speaking with you? Do they leave with greater clarity? Does your leadership, does it call forward their intelligence, or does it train them to depend on yours? Does your relationship allow someone to evolve? Or does it just require them to stay familiar? Does your work create real capability, or does it just keep people consuming? Does your success make the pathway wider for others? That's what increase is all about. And this is also where frequency becomes part of the conversation here, right? Frequency is not about maintaining the perfect emotional state at all times, right? You're allowed to feel all of the emotions out there. In fact, you want to feel all of the emotions, including emotions like fear and grief and anger and disappointment and uncertainty and all those lower level emotions, because they're part of life and they create contrast in life, which gives you this beautiful experience, right? That contrast actually creates energy that, when used properly, can create momentum in your life. If you didn't experience contrast, life would be very flat. It would be very dull. There would not be an expression coming through. But frequency is really about, especially the flourish frequency, it's about the deeper orientation from which you meet life. So what do I mean by that? Are you oriented towards scarcity or increase? Towards control or participation? Towards taking or giving? Towards proving your value or just expressing it? Towards protecting your position or expanding possibility? Like, are you fighting just for your point of view to get across, or are you open to expanding possibility? Your frequency feeds the field through the standards that you normalize, through the questions you ask and the introductions you make and the ways that you respond to another woman's success. When you feed the field, field, that's hard to say, the field feeds you back. When you feed the field, a client will share her experience about their work with you. A colleague will say your name in a conversation that you're not even a part of, right? Someone will forward your podcast to somebody else and say, hey, you gotta check this out. You gotta listen to this. A relationship suddenly becomes a collaboration. An introduction becomes a door, right? Your ideas and your impact move beyond your individual reach. That is the pollination effect. So think about it. A flower doesn't go around chasing the butterfly and the bumblebee. What does it do? It grows, it blooms, and it offers what it is authentically its own to offer, its own nectar. The pollinator receives nourishment and it carries something valuable into another part of the field. This is how the ecosystem works. Right? You feed the field will feed you back. And if you're open to receiving it and you allow the ecosystem to work, it will carry value farther than you can all on your own. It will feel like magic when you're in the ecosystem. It's not magic. It just gets to feel magical, right? So I hope this conversation has expanded some of your thinking today on what's possible for you. When you allow yourself to thrive, when you make yourself a priority, when you pour into yourself first, it's like putting on your own oxygen mask, right? You can't feed the field if you're automatically depleted, but you can't also wait for the field to feed you. You have to feed yourself, fill yourself up, and serve from your overflow. As we would close here today, I want to return to the 4 power paradigms. Remember that surviving is doing what is necessary to just get through in life. And striving is creating through effort, through force, and through personal will. But thriving is where you reconnect, I should say, with your personal power, where you become fully alive, and where you expand your capacity to both give and receive more. And flourishing is where your aliveness enters that larger circulation of life. Madam C.J. Walker built an extraordinary personal success in a world that offered Black women very few pathways to economic independence. But her success became education and employment and entrepreneurship and all these opportunities. And more than a century later, Tory Burch built a global brand while creating a foundation focused on expanding women's economic power. Her success became access for others to education and resources and relationships and community. Different women, different eras, different circumstances, but they shared a principle. Their thriving entered the field. And once it entered the field, it created increase beyond anything either woman could have accomplished all on their own. So this is also why I've created the field in my own world, the Flourish Field. If this is something that you're interested in, my vision for the Flourish Field is it is a place where you can come and you can plant yourself and give yourself room to grow when you're ready to grow, when you're ready to evolve. But my bigger vision for it and what I see it becoming in the future is actually a very self-fulfilling organism, an ecosystem that feeds and is being fed. So if you're interested in that, check the show notes. There's a link there. It'll tell you a little bit more about that. It's my monthly membership. It's called the Flourish Field for a reason. Until next time, I invite you to just consider your own blooming, take care of yourself, and keep flourishing. Thank you for tuning in to the Flourish Frequency Show with me, Beth Larson. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and are leaving with a heart full of inspiration and a mind buzzing with the possibilities of more. Tune in every third Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for more frequency boosting conversations. And if you want more help getting into your Flourish Flow and stepping into the possibilities of more, you can find me at BethLarsonCoaching.com. That's BethLarsonCoaching.com, Larson with an E.